What's the plan B?
The fact is that Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the Arab Emirates have actually developed pipelines that are in place in case of this type of emergency that is capable of delivering 7 million barrels a day of oil to tankers that will then not have to go through the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, that's a big plus point. The fact is...
Well, where is that happening, John? So my listeners can... the people listening to the programme can rest at ease knowing that petrol prices are going to come down imminently because the Saudis are going to be pumping 7 million barrels of oil a day through the pipes that you say are the Americans' plan B.
No, absolutely not. The world use per day is 20 billion
So, John,
barrels.
Again, let's come back to the...
What is up, everybody? Harry here. This is Tom Swarbrick on LBC with a caller named John, who's convinced Trump is one of the best strategists of the 21st century during the Iran conflict. Swarbrick just asks one thing, over and over. What's the actual exit strategy? And John's answer keeps drifting. Venezuelan oil fields, Saudi pipelines, a World War II intelligence department. This is a liver-contested foreign policy situation. So I'll try to check the specific claims fairly rather than just mock the caller. Get subscribed if that's useful to you. Let's get into it.
John's in Kingsbury. John.
Hi. I've been listening to your programme and it's beginning to sound like the Labour Broadcasting Corporation. Everybody's phoning in denigrating Donald Trump, whom I think is possibly one of the best strategists of the 21st century. I think that he's saving the world from what would have been terrorists armed with nuclear weapons, and people are deriding him. Keir Starmer, on the other hand, has been asked to help with the Straits of Hormuz because they believe there may be mines there. Nobody is saying anything about the 6 Royal Navy mine sweepers that were scheduled for decommissioning. They're in a state of disrepair. There's 6 of them. And the government have decided to invest the money that would have been used, which is $2.5 billion, to sort out those minesweepers by investing in a beta, a test thing where they will be hopefully detecting mines, but it's not ready to go yet.
Okay. John, do you mind if I just separate your 2 points? Firstly, on the President of the United States being the greatest strategist of the 21st century, what was the strategy to end this conflict with Iran? What's the end point of this conflict?
Before going into Iran, he went into the greatest country as far as oil resources go, which is Venezuela, and he's taken control of the oil fields there.
Right.
Now, that is where most of the heavy oil for China and Russia comes. So they can't prosecute a war. Taiwan or Russia is now actually having problems with fuel for its domestic use. They're having to import refined petroleum.
And this is a great point about Venezuela and the Venezuelans providing China in particular with oil. I agree. But can we focus on Iran? And as the greatest strategist of the 21st century, in your opinion, what was the strategy to get out of this war with Iran, to stop the escalation that would see a regional conflict or wider? What's the plan?
Yeah, well, the plan was that there is actually a plan B that nobody is talking about.
Okay, what's the plan B?
The fact is that Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the Arab Emirates have actually developed pipelines that are in place in case of this type of emergency that is capable of delivering 7 million barrels a day of oil to tankers that will then not have to go through the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, that's a big plus point. The fact is,
where is that happening, John? So my listeners can, the people listening to this program can rest at ease knowing that petrol prices are going to come down imminently because the Saudis are going to be pumping 7 million barrels of oil a day through the pipes that you say are the Americans' plan B.
No, absolutely not. The world use per day is 20 billion
So, John,
barrels.
Again, let's come back to the strategy that you say Donald Trump is resting upon that means he's the greatest strategist of the 21st century, and the strategy for exit from the war with Iran was
going to obliterate their ability to up nuclear weapons and threaten Europe
that's the purpose.
and America.
I agree that's the purpose of one of the purposes that Trump has outlined for the war. They may have done that to a greater or lesser extent, don't know. But now that there is a blockage in the Strait of Hormuz, and now that there are missiles raining down on Gulf neighbours, what's the plan, as you understand it to be, from the Americans to get this to stop?
I think the plan must have been very much like in World War II when Sir Winston Churchill actually developed a department called the SOE. SOE was, in World War II, a department that trained people to liaise with the...
Do you see such an offering from the Americans at the moment?
I think that the obvious way to deal with the failing Iranian clerical government at the moment is to arm the Iranians that actually used to call themselves Persians, and they were members of
how is that going, John? How are the Iranians arming the civilian population of Iran to go and rise up against the remnants of that theocratic...
The problem you have with that is the Iranian clerics and their IRGC have actually eradicated 40,000 Iranians for protesting.
So, John, the plan that you say the president is relying upon, the one that we should have joined in with as part of our obligations to the alliance with America, that strategy has moved from Saudi's pipelines to Europe with 7 million barrels a day, arming the Iranians, which isn't happening, some rebuffed version of a World War II department to go and sort this out diplomatically, which doesn't have any... That's not happening.
You obviously don't understand what the SOE was. The SOE...
I don't care, because it's not happening. Where are you getting this idea of a strategy from?
Well, he's already prevented China from going to war with Taiwan. He's limited the heavy oil usage from Russia for its own use to perpetrate the war in Ukraine. I think that's a brilliant move in itself.
And on Iran?
Russians are now having to import refined fuel.
And on Iran?
Okay, on Iran, we are only a short way into the war. Iran's ability to defend itself
it was going to be finished. You said it was going to be done in a couple of weeks. That it's going to be short, and you think it's a short one. That we're only a short way in.
I never heard him say it's going to be done in a couple of weeks.
Oh well, John, you've not been listening, my friend. This was going to be done in a couple of weeks. The president said only the other week. And yet you've cobbled together a strategy that the American president has not outlined, has never detailed, that none of the American administration have come up with. You've got something else. I mean, it's a good effort. Maybe they'll be on the phone to you, John, for a strategy. But the idea that this shows that Trump is the greatest strategist of the 21st century, not sure it stands up.
Watch the Saudi pipeline claim closely, because it's actually the one part of this call that deserves more credit than Swarbrick gives it in the moment. John says Gulf pipelines can move roughly 7 million barrels a day around the Strait of Hormuz, and that figure checks out. Saudi Arabia's east-west Petroline pipeline does have a real design capacity in that range, specifically built as a contingency for exactly this kind of closure, and it has been used at scale during periods when the strait was disrupted. Swarbrick's dismissive response, comparing that to a 20 billion barrel daily world usage figure, garbles the actual comparison. Global daily oil consumption is around 100 million barrels, and Hormuz specifically carries closer to 20 million barrels a day, so the pipeline's capacity is a meaningful chunk of the specific choke point volume, not the irrelevant rounding error the exchange makes it sound like. That's worth correcting plainly, John had a real, specific fact here, even if it doesn't add up to the sweeping strategic narrative he built around it. Where the call runs into real trouble is everything built on top of that one accurate fact. The claim that Trump has taken control of the oil fields in Venezuela and redirected supply away from China and Russia is a much larger and more specific claim requiring substantial verifiable evidence, actual policy documents, deployments, or reporting. None of which John or the segment provides big claims about a foreign country's oil infrastructure changing. Hands need a level of sourcing. Before going into Iran, he went into Venezuela. Doesn't come close to meeting. And Swarbrick's follow-up, asking where this idea actually comes from, is the right response to an extraordinary claim, offered without evidence. The reference to Churchill's special operations executive is worth flagging as a category error rather than a factual dispute, because John can't actually explain what the SOE was or how it maps onto any current policy, which suggests the reference is functioning as a vague historical gesture toward covert competence rather than an actual comparison with the content behind it. That's a different kind of problem from the pipeline claim. Not wrong so much as empty. A label without a mechanism attached to it. The exchange about the war's expected timeline is a fair and specific challenge worth crediting. Trump did publicly suggest at various points that resolution was close or imminent, and pointing out that a war still ongoing weeks later undercuts a claim of masterful timing is a legitimate checkable critique rather than an unfair gotcha. There's a broader lesson in how this call unfolds that's worth pulling out beyond the specific facts involved. A caller with one genuinely accurate, specific data point can still build an unsupported broader narrative on top of it. And the presence of one solid fact doesn't automatically validate everything stacked around it. The right response, which Swarbrick largely gets right here, isn't to dismiss the whole call as nonsense the moment one claim sounds implausible, nor to accept the whole package because one piece checks out. It's testing each claim on its own terms and being willing to say plainly which parts hold up and which don't. It's also worth being fair to what strategist even means as a claim, separate from whether Trump's specific tactics are wise or effective. Calling someone a skilled strategist is a claim about coherent long-term planning toward a stated goal, and John never actually identifies what that goal or endpoint is beyond general references to strength and pressure. A real evaluation of strategic skill needs a defined objective to measure success against. And that's the piece missing here, regardless of how the individual factual claims hold up. If breakdowns like this are useful to you, get subscribed to Harry Unfiltered.